over to Arvinda, who's Chief Executive of Emmaus UK. She's going to talk a little bit about the work they've been doing in this space, and then David, who's Chair of Emmaus, Hastings and Gohil.
Good morning. I would echo everything that you just said. We've been through the whole gamut of experiences. We're slightly different. Those of you who don't know about Emmaus, just to quickly tell you, we're a social enterprise providing housing support, community environment and work for people who've been homeless. We have 25 communities across the UK. We work with 675 people at the moment. We have 3 more communities opening by the end of this calendar year. So we are on a growth trajectory. We hope to provide space for 1,000 companions, as we call them, by 2020. So, why did we get into social investment? Firstly, it took anything between 2 years and 10 years to deliver a community through the traditional ways of finding funding, which was grant funding, because we needed capital and we needed working capital over the first 3 to 5 years before our social enterprise model gave us this financial sustainability. So we weren't going to grow quickly on that model. And of course, the increase in homelessness and the need for services that we provide is growing all the time. So that's why we did it. Also because we realized that grant funding was on the decline. More and more charities were chasing the same kind of grant funding. And we had a model where the revenue streams were providing support, financial support, which meant grant funders were saying to us, but surely you can do something else, which is social investment. So we looked at 2 of our trusts and foundations that we had long-standing relationships with. We went to talk to them and said, okay, well, help us with this. At the same time, we talked to all of the intermediaries that are in the marketplace at the moment trying to get social investment out to the sector. Extremely disappointing and extremely demoralizing, because what we realized is that the yield they were looking for wasn't affordable for us. We could not give them the kinds of return they were looking for with the model we had. So we created our own social investment fund with the help of our trusts and foundations. And we now have a revolving fund of 2 million and a mortgage facility of 5 million, which we work with our members on accessing. Now, we're a federal structure, so each of our communities is a separate charity. The fund is managed centrally by the federal body. The relationship is between the federal body and our funders. So it is a facility rather than us providing the funding. We do all of the due diligence, we do all of the capacity building of our members in order to make them investment ready to get the money. We also help them if there's any problems along the way in terms of not being able to meet the commitments they've made. So we keep very, very close eye on what's going on. The other thing we've done is that we've actually tailored the loan funding to suit the business plan that our member can realize. So we will go with a loan which will be 1% in year 1 to 5% in year 5, based on the business plan that they can develop and deliver on. And David will talk a bit more about that in a minute, because David's been one of the beneficiaries from this relationship. The key thing for us was that we deliver on our growth strategy, but we do it in a way that was going to speed up the process of growth, but also do it in a very sustainable way, whilst also increasing the capacity of our members. So it was increasing their financial capacity, it was increasing their knowledge base around engaging with social investment. So it's actually hand-holding until such time as they might go to the marketplace and get the rate that they want and that they can deliver on. We also said to new members and new groups who are coming to us who want to develop the model that we are very successful at, we have 25 years history in this, is actually we will not support you unless you can develop a social enterprise first. So it's all very well wanting to develop a community to help homeless people, but actually if you can't get your act together as a group of trustees and get the social enterprise working, then actually you're not going to be able to deliver community long term. So there are some changes in the way we did business, in the way that June was talking about, the change in culture, the change in approach, and the change of emphasis on what required initial investment from the people who were involved, as well as the financial investment. We'll pass on to David now to talk about what happens in an individual community.
Good morning. Arvinda's described the model. I'm here to tell you about the customer experience, I guess. My name's David Cooper. I'm the Chair of Trustees of Emmaus, Hastings and Rother. As you'll see from the potted biography in the programme, in a previous existence I was a nuclear engineer. How I got to be Chair of Trustees of a homelessness charity, I haven't the faintest idea. But I guess there's a lot of people in this audience who would probably say exactly the same thing. Arvinda's described the model, and there is a tension in that model. Most people who set out to set up a charity don't think they're going to be running a business. So even now, within Emmaus, there is a tension between people who see their focus on the charitable objectives, helping homeless people, and the people who think, actually, you've got to run a successful business to make the other half work. And there is no doubt that the landscape has changed. When I first got involved in Emmaus, I think there was an underlying belief that if the social enterprise didn't deliver, you could go out and get some revenue funding to top up the pot, and it wouldn't really matter. Those days have passed. Running the business to keep the thing going is now priority. Emmaus, Hastings and Rother was established as a charity within the Emmaus UK Federation in 2007. We acquired a site in 2009, opened a business in the autumn of that year, and opened the community's doors in the summer of 2011. Because of the difficulties of fundraising, which we're all horribly well aware of, we ended up building our accommodation in 3 phases. Now that actually fits pretty well, because if you're trying to grow a community, you want to do it in a staged way. You can't go from nil to full. You've got to do it in the staged way. So having to do it in a staged way was not actually a bad thing. We ended up with needing to find £160,000 to build the final part of the accommodation. At that time in recent history, when grant funding was becoming very hard to find, and in fact there were other Emmaus projects at an earlier stage of development that had a better call on grant funding than we did. So taking a loan from the Emmaus Fund was a pretty obvious thing to do. I'm now going to echo very briefly much of what has already been said. There is then a paradigm shift. You have got to be looking at your balance sheet because you have a loan to repay. Get yourself, we're not big enough to have a finance director, but get yourself a very good treasurer. Your treasurer's input is absolutely crucial. If you get a treasurer from a business background, even better. And you will have these tensions on the board of trustees between people who joined up because they want to do good, and people who say, yeah, we want to do good, but we've got to run a successful business. We have a business that turns over £200,000 a year. We take housing benefit for our residents, so our total turnover in those terms is about £300,000 a year. The total capital cost of the project was £1.2 billion, and we are sitting on a loan from the Emmaus Fund of £100,000, which we have to repay, and also some loans from a previous version of the Emmaus Fund, which interestingly are morally loans, but not in the same sense as current loans. So we have a lot of loan funding to repay, so it is necessary that we grow the business to fund those. I should be here at the end. I think that's all I want to say. I'll be here at the end. If you want to ask questions about how it actually works in practice, I'll very happily answer them. Thank you.